115 yards. Austin Herrick, 6 out of 7, 134 yards. Last week against Mercer in that.
Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to Winthrop. Just as the score of the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Denton. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Ball drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back to throw. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them away from their faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins. Here's the pitch to Willie.
There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take.
I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
And erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. This is goodbye. Home run.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
What he made just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey, who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right then is your host, Dan Scott.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the program. I'm Dan Scott. That is Forrest Stulting back here in studio today after a little run through at the home studio yesterday. Good to have you with us, and looking forward to getting together over the course of the next nearly an hour and seeing what kind of damage we can do.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a lot of fun, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. We think we've got a good show lined up for you today. Coming up at 10:25 as we continue to preview Furman and Wofford. A guy who's covered the Wofford Terriers for a long, long time is Todd Shaughnessy of the Spartanburg Herald-Journal, and he's going to join us at 10:25 to lend us his perspective on this rivalry. Tomorrow we hope to talk with Mark Hauser, the play-by-play voice of the Wofford Terriers, as well as these two teams get set for round 2 of the FCS playoffs and a rematch of week 1 of the regular season, all the way back to the beginning of the year, the 24-23 Wofford win that still kind of sticks in the craw of some folks.
Oh, yeah.
Try that 2-point conversion and missed it by that much, as Maxwell Smart used to say. But anyway, so that's coming up today. We're also going to take a look at the Furman loss to Winthrop last night at Timmons Arena. Kind of a shocking loss, quite honestly. Let you hear the postgame comments of head coach Bob Ritchie, who, by the way, did not make it out to postgame radio because, as we kind of thought it might, the locker room talk went on for a long, long time after the game yesterday. So if you didn't see or the postgame video from head coach Bob Ritchie meeting with reporters afterwards, we're going to play that for you coming up here in just a bit. And then another little piece of video that you're going to see involves an incident that happened at Jimbo Fisher's weekly radio show last night. The Florida State coach, as I'm sure you know by now, we've talked about it the last couple of days, is being seriously wined and dined by the folks at Texas A&M and apparently is seriously considering the job. A fan asked him about that at his show yesterday, and wait till you see what happened to that fan. We'll get into that video coming up in just a bit. But first, we always like to start off with what we have going on here on campus to give our Furman teams a little shout out, and Forrest has that for us.
I sure do. Andy Shumpert was named the SoCon Student Athlete of the Week this week. It was his second garner for that award this year. He's got a GPA of 3.77, so congrats to Mr. Shumpert. At the end of the completion of the fall sports, Furman leads both the men's and women's all-sports SoCon race for the Commissioner's Cup and the German Cup. They lead the Men's Cup, the Commissioner's Cup, with a score of 3.57 over ETSU's got a score of 3.03. Sanford and Wofford are tied for third at 2.233. On the women's side, the Paladins lead with a score of 0.421. Excuse me. Sanford in second place with a score of 0.344. As you said, Dan, men's basketball lost last night to Winthrop 93-74. The women's basketball team, they will travel to Athens, Georgia tonight to face the Bulldogs at 7 o'clock. And officially the baseball schedule was announced a couple days ago, so let's run through a couple of those important games. The Paladins open the season February 16th with a 3-game set against Marist. Then they're on the road for a couple of games. They start a 5-game road trip against Clemson. Then they go to Raleigh to face the Wolfpack of North Carolina State, and then finish that out against South Carolina. So a pretty tough month of February to start things off. Then they come home for a long homestand. They'll play 3 games at Fluor Field against Michigan State, Illinois, and Presbyterian. Also in the month of March, they'll play Wichita State, Harvard for 4 games, another game against Clemson at Fluor Field. And then at the end of the month, they will start SoCon play against the Sanford Bulldogs. And if you look at the schedule closely, the last 4 SoCon series, there's only 1 midweek game in there, which I think is a great scheduling ploy by Brett Harker and his staff to kind of rest his guys up for the SoCon series and really kind of front load all of his non-conference games at the beginning of the season.
Now we're going to talk a lot more about that, obviously, as we get closer to the season. But we talked a little bit about it actually earlier this week, especially how the Wichita State trip came about. But always looking forward to baseball season.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun this year, I think, Dan.
Yeah, I would agree. Good schedule. I think 10 of the first 11 games are against teams that made NCAA regionals last year. So there's a great degree of difficulty in this schedule that Brett Harker and his staff have put together. All right, what are we doing trivia-wise today?
We're going to stick with some Furman football here and talk about some more playoff action and playoff history. Who has the most rushing yards in Paladin playoff history? And how many yards did he gain and against who?
Oh, we're talking about single game?
Single game.
Okay. The most rushing yards, single game in the playoffs, and who did it and how many yards did he rush for? Right? Did he encapsulate that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll let you chew on that. We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. If you have a guess, you can drop it in the Facebook Live comment section. You can tweet it to us at Dan Scott Show, and we will answer it at the end of the program. We need to step out for a break. We'll come back and talk some Furman basketball. Before we go out, though, just a reminder that the show is brought to you on a daily basis by our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company, located in Cherrydale Plaza, back open after being closed on Tuesday for some internal work that needed to be done, so you can get your soups and your sandwiches and your hot coffee and everything else you want, the baked goodies. And here we are now officially in the Christmas season after Thanksgiving. Today's the last day of November, so December starts tomorrow. What a gift for others, or even a gift for yourself, with some of the wonderful baked stuff they have there at the Atlanta Bread Company. A lot of good sweets. You'll want to check it out. Located at Cherrydale Plaza, as I said, just down the road from campus. That's the Atlanta Bread Company. Please tell them you heard about them here on the show, and thank them for what they do to sponsor us. We will take a break and come back. You'll hear more about the Atlanta Bread Company during this break, and then we'll talk some Furman basketball on the other side. Stay with us.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO cell phone repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. We are just getting cranked up here at 10:16. Todd Shaughnessy joins us at right around 10:25 to help us continue to preview Furman and Wofford round two of the FCS playoffs coming up Saturday in Spartanburg. Let's talk some Furman basketball, though. We go into last night's game at Winthrop. Furman does, coming off of a pair of wins in Nashville over in New Hampshire and Northeastern. 4-2 on the season and played really well in both of those games. And considering the kind of game that the Paladins and the Eagles had last year up in Rock Hill, I think everybody thought that this was going to be another close matchup. Two evenly matched mid-major teams, and this was going to be a good measuring stick for the Paladins and for Winthrop moving forward as they clear their non-conference schedules and start getting into conference play. And what it turned out to be was a Winthrop team that pretty much from the time the ball went in the air dominated the game on both ends of the floor and ran away for a 19-point win, 93-74 at Timmons Arena last night. Forrest, we watched that game. I called it for ESPN3 and Fox Sports 1440. Furman, especially in the first half, had no answer for the ability of really all five guys on the floor for Winthrop to put the ball on the floor and create plays either for themselves or for other people. And that includes 6'8" Xavier Cooks, who showed his ability to have the ball on the wing and be able to put it on the floor and drive to the basket. And their offense was consistent motion. And when you got five guys who can handle it, five guys who can drive and penetrate, it makes it very difficult to defend. And quite honestly, Furman did not defend well last night.
You're absolutely right, Dan. We were just too many points in the game where we were standing around and watching a little bit too much, where we were not having constant movement on the defensive end, and our defensive slides looked a little sluggish on that side of the ball as well. And I think just their ability to spread the floor really well kind of hurt us a ton, because whenever we tried to double up Cooks down low, he was always able to find an open man, either for the open three or an easier drive to the basket. So I think the defensive side of the ball is really a big struggle for us. And on the offensive side of the ball as well, that they really hedged our ball screens extremely well, kind of pushed us off to more towards half court and slowed us up a ton. And I think we're not prepared for that big of a hedge out front.
Did not shoot the three well at all, only connected on 5 threes in a myriad of opportunities last night. So it was just one of those games where things did not go right pretty much from the beginning, and that includes Devin Sibley only playing 9 minutes, leaving the game after apparently taking an elbow or a forearm, something, to his lower right side area. And what we were told as the second half went on was he was suffering from muscle spasms and never returned to the game. So they played without the SoCon Player of the Year, the reigning Player of the Week in the conference, and the preseason Player of the Year. Only played 9 minutes, 0 for 4 from the field, did not score last night. And that just kind of compounded the issues.
Oh, big time. I mean, he's really a key cog in our machine on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to start a lot of the offense for the Paladins. He can shoot the ball real well. He can drive and penetrate and kick out the three. So he is really one of the most important pieces for us on offense. He's also just a great leader overall for the Paladins in order to keep the morale up and find the right plays to run on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, as mentioned, the post-game talk in the locker room went an extended amount of time, so we did not get Bob Ritchie on the post-game radio show last night, but he did eventually come out and talk to the press afterwards, and here's what he had to say in his, I think, about 4 minutes of meeting with reporters after the game.
Shopping online can be a real hassle.
We'll get to it after this ad.
Actual work to find the best deal.
You can skip it.
By the time you jump from tab to
Not
tab,
from this screen, I can't.
Tricky.
Yeah.
Enter Honey, the world's most
So maybe we'll get a little residual from this.
There you go.
What do you think?
I like that. A little trickle down.
You don't waste time
Something along those lines.
We do all the hard work in the background, automatically comparing millions of prices and discount codes, then instantly applying the savings to your cart. With Honey, you'll get the best possible price on everything, every time. Like that Instant Pot pressure cooker you've had your eye on for a while, or the new Nintendo Switch gaming system, or a last-minute wedding gift for that friend you haven't really spoken to since high school.
Yeah,
Because with tens of
the
thousands
Eagles, they
of
dominated inside. They had
millions of ways to shop smarter.
54 points in the paint, only our 34, so they really dominated the paint inside. And Cooks, man, he was phenomenal last night, 24 points overall. 10 rebounds, so a double-double for him. So he was their main guy. And then the Broman brothers, they did well as well. They had Anders had 13 points, and then Bjorn had 6 points. So they were just a really tough team to defend from three and inside when you have Cooks with that big. I think what is like 6'8" wing, like 6'8".
Yeah,
at least a 6'10" wingspan. He's very lanky and got really good hops as well.
All right, I think we're finally ready for Bob Ritchie. Normally you get a 15-second ad. This one was seemingly about a minute and a half. Here we go.
Coach, it looked like tonight they just kind of had a frenetic pace, but there was kind of a method to their madness, and they just kind of couldn't keep pace with them early on. Dug yourself too big of a hole.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to watch the film to get a really detailed breakdown of it, but I think it was pretty clear. I mean, they were the tougher team tonight, and, we knew that they were really going to try to attack us off the bounce and that they were going to try to kick out for threes, and, we just we could not guard the ball. And, we didn't have the toughness and the connectedness on defense to keep the ball out of the paint, and they just drove us. I mean, they just drove us and it put us in rotation every single possession. And, we just completely went away from the game plan. So we got to get back to the drawing board. And as they say, fat pigs get slaughtered. And I think we started thinking we had done something. And coming off this Nashville trip and everybody telling us how good we are, I don't think that we came out with the mental edge and the toughness that we needed to play a team that's well coached and that's good. And let's be honest. I mean, they beat us last year. And, they weren't coming here afraid of us, and we failed to match their toughness tonight.
Yeah. It seemed like when you might get it down to 15 or so and, kind of manageable, almost immediately they go down and get a layup or not.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything complicated. I mean, they really just put the ball in space and just drove it. It wasn't anything outrageous they were doing offensively. Just, playing in space, putting the ball down, getting two to the ball, finding an open guy. I thought they did a phenomenal job of that. They did a great job moving the ball and forcing the ball to the paint. And then when the few times that we did rotate correctly, they made us pay. And every single time we didn't rotate properly, they definitely made us pay.
Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about the crazy week y'all had last week with travel and everything. And, you won back-to-back nights in pretty convincing fashion. Is it almost a thing where you don't have time to get tired or lose focus when you're going that strong that many days in a row, and then you get a couple of days off and maybe you fall back into a sense of a little bit of a tiredness. Not tiredness. That's not the right word, but
yeah, I mean, we it's a fine line. You know what I mean? Because clearly in a college basketball game, regardless of what's happened the day before, 2 days before, when you show up to play, you got to go play. And there's a certain level of intensity and mental focus that you just have to bring regardless of the situation. And you can find all the reasons and all that stuff, but this group we got to figure out a way. You know, we got to figure out a way. And in moments like that, when, you know, you can say, yeah, all this travel in Nashville and getting home, and, you know, you can find any excuse. We got whipped tonight. You know, I mean, that's just the facts. We for whatever reason, and I'm not really interested in the reasons, we just mentally and physically got whipped, and on the defensive end. So it's we know the foundation of this program has always been defense, and you know it's one of those deals where you got to figure out a way to respond. And the season's not going to slow up. They're not going to give us any extra days off. We just gotta make sure that we prepare and be ready to respond on Saturday.
Sure. Can you tell us kind of what happened to Devin and what's his outlook?
Yeah, so Devin, I just talked to the trainer, you know, and we talked at halftime. He got hit on a rebound, and then later he tried to play through it and then got hit in the same spot on a post-up, and just didn't feel like he could return to action. So they went ahead and put him on ice at halftime, and, you know, I'm sure it's a day-to-day deal. I don't think it's any, from what I'm being told, it's nothing major. But, you know, hopefully we can get him rested up and get back ready to roll.
So it's just like general location over here on his side.
Yeah. I would think it's a hip pointer is kind of what I'm gathering.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
All right, that was head coach Bob Ritchie after the 19-point loss to Winthrop last night, and well, I mean his assessment I think was pretty much spot on, and credit him for saying it. We just got whipped.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he said it in that interview as well, that our program is based upon defensive intensity, and when you don't bring that, it's going to be hard to win ball games.
So they'll get an opportunity to bounce back on Saturday against Tennessee Tech in a game that starts at 4 o'clock here at Timmons Arena, ESPN3 only because of football. So if you're not making it up to Spartanburg, go out and support the Paladins at Timmons for the basketball game. When we come back, we'll talk some Furman Wofford playoff football with Todd Shaughnessy of the Spartanburg Herald-Journal. We'll do that right after this.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Traveler's Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. .29 as we continue here on a bit of an overcast day here in the upstate of South Carolina. Dan Scott, Forrest Stulting, good to have you with us, and off we go here in our next segment. We bring in Todd Shaughnessy, good friend of ours, longtime friend, and a fine reporter for the Spartanburg Herald-Journal. He has covered Wofford athletics at Spartanburg's newspaper longer than he probably would like to admit on the radio, and he joins us now to help us preview even further round two between these two teams. Todd, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Grandpa?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you very much. Grandpa, round two, as a matter of fact. So
round two.
There's a theme developing
I like
here.
that. That's right. I've got two as well, so I'm in that club.
Yeah. And you and I kind of discovered the same thing. I think the old joke turned out to be true, that if we knew how great grandchildren were, we would have had them first. So.
That's right. That's right. You and I have a lot in common too. We're West Virginia guys, right?
Yeah.
We love the Reds.
Yep.
We're big Paul McCartney fans, and now we're old geezers.
Yeah.
So
not quite as old as
now.
Not quite as old as Paul, though. We got that going for us.
That's right.
He's got enough money to stay young forever.
That's right.
Let's talk about this game. I mean, here on the purple side of things, I mean, everybody is as fired up as they can be, obviously for the season as a whole, but now to get a second shot at Wofford after redeeming the early season loss to Elon in round one. So that's how it's playing here. How's it playing up in Terrier Country?
Well, I think the guys are pretty excited, pretty confident. Personally, I don't like SoCon rematches in the playoffs. I didn't like it last year when Citadel had to play Wofford. I didn't think that was really very fair. It's just, I understand why they do it. They regionalize it. They want a lot of fans to go, and it will be packed on Saturday. There's something about it just doesn't seem quite right. You get through the Southern Conference schedule and you win the championship, and then you want to see what you can do on a national stage, and you get another conference game. It's a little odd, but it will definitely be a great game. So that's for sure.
How different is this Wofford team now than they were in week one? Because if you look at Furman, for instance, it's going to be in many ways a much different Paladin team than Mike Ayers and his staff saw in week one. If nothing else, from a personnel standpoint, Keelan Dirks did not play in game one. Our two rookie middle linebackers were not playing in game one, who have been so effective for us. So there's some personnel changes, if nothing else, that make Furman different than way back at the beginning of the season. How has Wofford changed over the course of a long year?
The main thing is just they have more confidence. All those close wins have really given them a sense that they can win, in any situation. They are a little bit healthier than they were a few weeks ago. They went into the South Carolina game and got banged up a little bit, and they held some guys back. So they needed the bye week to get rested. Overall, it's pretty much the same team. They've been healthy for the most part all year. But they do realize that it's a much different Furman team. When the schedule came out and it was Furman Wofford first week, it was like, well, what is this all about? Why is this taking place? And it was a little worrisome for Wofford because they didn't know anything about Furman. Furman had, 30 years of tape to go back and look at Wofford and see what they do. But Wofford had no idea. So once they got past that game, and that 1 point win, and they had 1 point win the next week against Mercer, then it was, a breathing point. Oh, okay. Now we're sitting in pretty good shape. But like you say, they learned a little bit about Furman, but I think since then, and the Wofford guys realized this, that Furman's figured things out. They found an identity. They've really evolved throughout the season, and much more dangerous, in my opinion, than they were in that first game, even when you didn't know what was coming.
Hey, Todd, Forrest here. Wofford's won a ton of close games this year. What's kind of been that X factor for the Terriers to kind of pull themselves through those tough games during SoCon play?
I really think it was that very first game against Furman. I'm writing about this, right now, that play at the end, that 2-point interception on the 2-point conversion. It just seemed to change a lot of things. It changed the paths of both teams, even though they would, they're gonna meet again. Sent them in different directions a little bit, And I think it's kind of set the tone for Wofford, feeling that they could win, these close games, and there were a bunch of them. I think 5 wins by a total of 12 points. I mean, that's just remarkable that every week it came down to the end, the last snap, the last series. And it just seemed to, it just seemed to be, commonplace. I mean, they just figured, this is the way it's going to be this year. And that's the way it's been.
We're visiting with Todd Shaughnessy, the writer who covers Wofford for the Spartanburg Herald-Journal and has for quite a while there in Spartanburg now. I keep saying that as a way of getting around the fact that,
it's been 20 years, Dan.
You're
20
old.
years.
You're old, so there we go.
Yeah.
So it's the way it works sometimes. Hey, tell me about Brandon Goodson running this team and how he's different, what he brings to the table different than most other Wofford quarterbacks. And along with that, part 2 of that question is Mike Ayers softening a bit in his disdain for the forward pass, because I get the idea that he's been a little more attuned to Goodson throwing the ball in a forward direction than maybe some of his other quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, you have to do things a little differently. You can't run on every down, although I did see Wofford win a playoff game where they never even attempted a pass. That doesn't happen very often. Goodson is he's just the leader of the team. He's not the greatest runner they've ever had. He's not the best passer, but he just has this trust element, and he's just a great leader of the team. We wondered last year when he was actually 3rd in line last year at the beginning of the season. First 2 guys got hurt, and by game 5, he's the guy. And they were, Wofford's down to its 3rd quarterback. Then they go on this remarkable run. He gets hurt in the postseason, and it's actually the backup, the guy they pulled the red shirt off of, Joe Newman, who led them to a win down there at the Citadel, and played really well in the double overtime loss at Youngstown State. And coming into this season, I think there were a lot of people thinking this is, it's going to be a tight battle between those 2 guys to see who wins it. And a lot of people thought maybe Joe would take over that job. But Brandon's just such a leader, so calm and cool. And the guys just believe in him. That's the best thing about him with this team is he's grown a lot, even since last year. He doesn't make bad mistakes. He just knows what to do and how to lead these guys, and they just, they go where he leads them.
Yeah, I mean, Goodson's thrown 113 times this year, which for most quarterbacks and most teams would be a piddling little amount. But there have been some years on Mike Ayers' teams where they've not approached that number throwing the football. So at least there is a little more of a threat of the downfield passing game. Yeah,
and they'll like I say, they don't feel like they can just keep running the ball. I mean, they'll throw it on first down. They'll throw it on first and second down. But just to loosen up the defense a little bit. And they've got some really great receivers. I mean, they got guys that can go get it. A little bit undersized guys, but they can really do it. Last year it was mostly to the tight end. Chandler Gallagher's all conference because of how often they threw to him and targeted him. This year it's more the receivers, and they feel like they can go downfield and loosen things up a little bit.
You said that Goodson's been the leader on the offensive side of the ball. Who's been the leader defensively for the Terriers this year?
I think it's a combination of guys. Their front line is probably Miles Brown and Tyler Vaughn. Vaughn being the senior, I think those are the guys they lean on the most. That defensive line is pretty remarkable. They had two first-team all-conference guys and then an all-freshman guy in the middle who's out. I think he's still out now. Mikael Horton came down with mono a few weeks ago, so I don't expect him back. They've got a freshman in there now in the middle, but those 2 defensive ends, and Miles will move back from the middle to the defensive end. Those guys, I would say they're the leaders of that defense.
Todd, I want to talk a little bit of conference big picture with you. Go back to the end of the 2013 season when Elon, Appalachian State, Georgia Southern, all left this conference football-wise. Davidson left basketball-wise. And there was a pending feeling of doom surrounding the future of the Southern Conference. And some talk, even football-wise, if the conference deserved to have an automatic bid into the FCS playoffs. And yet here we are in 2017, coming off of a 2016 year, which saw 4 teams make a 24-team field, 3 teams make the 24-team field this year. It seems like the conference has recovered quite nicely. What are your thoughts?
I think so too. I think, top to bottom, VMI still is a struggling team. But, everybody else is right there. And I know Coach Ayers thinks top to bottom, it's the best it's ever been. It's, in those past years, it was really top heavy. There were some great teams. There was, they called them the Big Three or the Big Four, and then it was everybody else. But, now top to bottom, I think it's great. I think it's a great conference. I like the, competitive nature of it. I don't know where Furman was picked in preseason. I don't remember, but not toward the top, I don't think.
7th.
And yeah, I mean that's just remarkable that they've done what they did, recovered from that 0-3 start and won 7 in a row, and that just shows. I think that shows the conference as a whole about how good it is right now. It was tough to see those teams leave. That it made for some really great rivalries and road trips, but I don't think the conference is a bad place at all.
Except for Georgia Southern. I don't think anybody enjoyed going to Statesboro.
No.
And I have seen, and it's kind of funny how this works out, but as we have gone from place to place this year, Todd, I don't know if you've seen it, but every time the topic of Georgia Southern comes up and their 0-9 start and watching them play before nobody at home games, people around this conference seem to be taking great delight in their misery.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was hard to understand, because we remember the crowds down there. I mean, they were just unbelievable, and they'd bring them up this way for playoff games. And to think about where that program is now, and you just wonder, did they make a mistake? Are they thinking they made a mistake? I don't know. You just wonder when teams make that move to the big time, is it really big time?
I've often threatened that if I ever write a book about doing the job that I do at this level of coverage, that I was going to call it, I spent a month in Statesboro one weekend. And other stories from the road. So
Statesboro Blues. That's it, right, man.
What do you think is going to be the key this weekend against these two teams, and who's going to for the team to come out on top? Essentially, what's going to be the key?
It sounds like coach speak a little bit, but I think it'll be turnovers.
Yep.
In a game this close, and especially down in the red zone, I think it'll come down to turnovers. Wofford's been doing a much better job at turnovers. They had a couple 3 at South Carolina, but none in the 3 games before that, I think. And in a game like this, I mean, even one turnover at whatever crucial spot it is going to be huge. So I think it's coming down to that. Special teams making your kicks and playing to the end.
Yeah, Furman actually won a game against Elon, in which it lost the turnover battle 3-1, and the only Elon turnover was a desperation pass to the end zone on the last play of the first half. So winning games like that anytime, much less the playoffs, is an anomaly. So I think you're right. Whoever takes care of the ball best, as trite and as cliche as it sounds, is going to have the best chance to win this game.
What's your feeling about conference teams playing, early second round? What do you think about that?
I would have preferred to see somebody new. I don't think there's any question about it. At the same time, I think, number one, if you've not been in the playoffs in 4 years, you take who's there, which is I think the way Furman's looking at it. And then secondly, I think that it may have actually in a single case scenario benefited Furman from the standpoint that not that you need any extra motivation, but you got 2 teams that you lost to by a total of 4 points in the first 2 games of the season. That's your path in the first 2 weeks. If you get by the first game, then you get Wofford. So I think maybe as in an individual scenario, maybe this works to Furman's advantage a little bit from a psychological standpoint. But bigger picture overall, I'm like you. I'd rather be if I'm going to travel somewhere, man. Let's go to San Diego.
And there were a lot of yeah, that'd be nice. Not Fargo.
Yeah, which one of us is going to Fargo, by the way?
Yeah, one of us is going to Fargo and bundle up. I've been there.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of Furman fans that went to the Elon game, right? I mean, this last week.
About 40% of the crowd was Furman fans.
That's amazing, and it's going to be like that this week.
Yeah.
I know Furman. Excuse me. They sold out their allotment of tickets that they got from Wofford and came back and got some more.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Wofford gave it to them, and I think that's kind of what sparked the idea that we need to let our students in for free. We need to make sure we've got as many people there as we can, and tickets are only going to be $10, but the college kind of bit the bullet on that one and said, you just come and you can get in.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
If the roles were reversed, I would hope that Furman would do the same thing, because I can promise you we had somewhere between 11 and 1,200 Furman fans at Elon. We're going to have more than that in Spartanburg this week. I think the atmosphere is going to be fantastic. I don't know what the stadium up there holds officially, but I'd be shocked, Todd, if it wasn't packed.
Oh, I think it will be too. And Coach Ayers hasn't said complain. I even kind of tried to bait him into saying, "Why do you want to play a conference game in the playoffs?" But he's just like, when you get to this point, I mean, you're just glad to be here. You can't get picky about who you play. And he was, adamant about the atmosphere that is expected at Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
Should be, the best in a long time. Should be great.
Now, Todd, are you saying that someone in the media profession would try to bait a head coach into saying something?
I didn't really mean it that way. Did I say it that way? A leading question? Is that I don't know.
Yeah, Mike Ayers has been around long enough where he's not easily led. So
no, you're right. And I haven't been around long enough to realize that.
Oh my goodness. Any final thoughts before we shake it up? Are Reds going to come up with any healthy pitching this year?
I'd probably say no. Yeah. I don't know. I just, I'm down on the Reds, and, it's just a shame. We got spoiled in those Big Red Machine days. We sure got spoiled, and I'd love to see something like that happen again, or even 1990 happen again, something. But
well, heck,
we'll see.
give me 2010 and 2012 and give me a shot. That's all I'm asking for right now.
There you go.
So.
There you go.
Anyway,
that's awesome.
Todd, thank you, man. We appreciate it.
All right, man. Good to talk to you guys.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Todd.
That is Todd
Okay.
Shaughnessy. He is the sports writer, very fine sports writer for the Spartanburg Herald Journal. When we come back, we've got more to get to, including he said, the Jimbo Fisher call-in show last night and what happened there. You'll see the video of that, and I don't think there will be any ad in front of this one. I can't say for sure, but I don't think there will be. This is the Dan Scott Show, and we'll be back right after this.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimmented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
right, welcome back to the show. It's good to talk to Todd Shaughnessy. It was great. It's good stuff. Furman Wofford, 2 o'clock at Gibbs Stadium. Tickets are still available. And hurriedly with Dwight Covington the other day, I just did this on the fly. That's the phone number to the ticket office if you want to call and get tickets, 864-294-3099. Of course, you can always go to FurmanPaladins.com/tickets, and you will be able to order those online. And if you're a student, you can go to the gate on game day, show your student ID, and get a ticket for $10. And apparently there are going to be a lot of student tickets there because Wofford, as you heard, is letting its students in free to try to increase their crowd and increase their atmosphere on their side of the stadium.
I think it's going to be a great atmosphere, Dan. I think letting in the students for free is a great idea, and hopefully our students come out in droves as well.
All right, I know you got some things, and we haven't done the traditional Force 3 things today because we've been kind of
Furman Wofford's way more important than my 3 things.
Yeah, well, I would agree, but I was trying to be nice.
Sure.
But last night, Jimbo Fisher, the Florida State head coach, and we've been talking about all the coaching carousel stuff that's been going on all week long here on the show. Last night, his weekly radio show, they have a setup where he apparently takes questions not only from fans who call in, but they have a mic set up, and fans who come to the event can ask questions. Well, one such fan did so last night. I don't know if you'll actually be able to hear what happened on this video, but I want you to watch it, and I'll be able to fill in what happened. But this is from Jimbo Fisher's show last night, and this is a fan who is asking him a question, and I'll tell you about that question in just a moment, just in the event that you cannot hear the audio. Watch this. This mic is snatched from the fan, and he is basically shoved out the door by someone on Florida State staff. What he did was ask Jimbo Fisher, where's the loyalty? Jimbo Fisher is reportedly very seriously considering an offer from Texas A&M to leave Florida State to take that position. And this fan stepped up to the microphone and asked him, where's the loyalty? And that was the response. They basically ignored the question. You saw the mic get snatched out of his hand and basically get pushed out of the room by one of the Florida State staffers. It was just an awful, egregious way to handle that question. Look, if you're going to take questions, if you're going to take them live on the phone, if you're going to take them live in the place where the show is being done, you have to expect that there are going to be people who are going to ask you critical questions.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why a lot of schools have quit taking questions, quit taking phone calls. Quite honestly, especially the bigger schools.
They're scared.
Or they will seriously screen those and make sure and maybe even pre-record the questions and play them as if they're live.
Yep.
To screen them and make sure that there's nothing negative that gets through. But if you're going to do that in a live setting, well, that was just an awful way to handle that.
It really was, Dan. I mean, you can't do that to your fans. But I also want to point out that the FSU fan base has not been extremely loyal to Jimbo Fisher, which is probably one of the reasons why he is considering leaving Florida State and going to Texas A&M in the first place. So it was a little bit of a weird
Not loyal in what way?
That they're knocking him for not being a good coach, for not coaching them well after Jameis Winston went down in the first game of the season, that he's not able to get his players pumped up and get them ready to play. They're just not showing that they're giving 100% every week in and week out on the football field. And I think those fans are not happy with how he's handled the team since Winston has been got hurt against Alabama in the first week of the season.
You mean DeAndre Francois?
Excuse me, yeah, DeAndre Francois. Yeah. Jameis Winston's quarterback for the Buccaneers right now.
Former quarterback that
Yeah.
Fisher had his own issues with.
Yes.
When he was in Tallahassee.
Mhm.
Look, Florida State's one of those teams, like every team that has what I call the lunatic fringe fan base.
Mhm.
So those are the ones who are going to make the most noise. And in a year like this where they have struggled, obviously there's been a lot of discontentment. And the Francois injury, I think, exposed some other weaknesses in the Florida State program, especially with their offensive line and maybe some other areas. But this is really the first quote-unquote bad year that Jimbo Fisher has had in Tallahassee. And so should that get him a pass? In one sense, maybe yes. In one sense, no. I guess if you're saying, well, this is the standard that we expect to achieve. And fans are always going to be that way. My point is that in a public setting, in a radio show setting like that, to basically throw a fan out for asking a critical question is number one. As I said, it just an egregious response. It's a ridiculous response, and somebody should be disciplined for having that happen. But number two, it also shows that you are I would say a little too sensitive.
Oh, absolutely.
You're in baseball parlance, maybe you have rabbit ears.
Mhm.
You don't have the intestinal fortitude to let the guy ask his question, stand up, answer it like a man, or just say, hey, you know what? I'm coaching this team right now. Give it the typical coach speak response.
Yeah.
If you're going to blow the guy off, at least have the courtesy to address him and do what a lot of coaches do, and that's talk and not say anything, and blow him off, and then have the microphone moved on to another fan like that. But instead, what they do, they snatch the mic out of the guy's hand. Fisher ignores the question. Gene Deckerhoff moves right on to the next caller, don't even acknowledge the guy, and then you saw in the video the staffer, and watch it again. Watch the staffer after he takes the microphone, he pushes him in the back. Now, he didn't push him hard.
By no means.
But he pushed him in the back after he took the microphone not once. There you see the first time. And as the camera follows him, you'll see it happen again. And the guy took a little exception to it the second time, basically saying, get your hands off of me. So
he's clearly walking out, so there's no reason to push him.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be interested to see what the backlash, if there is any, from that goes on. And that happened last night on Jimbo Fisher's show.
I mean, questions like that come with the territory of being a head coach, so I don't see anything wrong with what that fan asked, whether it be in a radio setting or a post-game press conference. You're going to get asked those questions no matter what. So take them like a man as your head coach of a football team.
And if you find it on Twitter, which is where I did, you can actually hear the video. The guy was a little passionate. He was a little upset, but he certainly wasn't belligerent. And from at least in the clip we saw, and we don't know what may have been said prior to that, but at least in the clip we saw, all he said was, "Where's the loyalty?"
Yep.
And he repeated it, "Where's the loyalty?" And for that, he gets basically ejected from Jimbo Fisher's call-in show. I thought it was a Bush League move by those who run the show, and I thought it was a Bush League move by Jimbo Fisher not to say, hey, no, let the guy stay and let me answer his question.
Yeah, I just don't understand it one bit on anybody's part on the Florida State side, because, I mean, you have to be able to handle those questions no matter what kind of setting you're in, because they're going to be asked by the fans, because this fan base is obviously one of the most diehards in all of sports.
Sure.
So you're gonna come across these fans where they want to know these really delicate questions to the answers, especially at a time where Florida State's coming off one of the worst seasons since even the Bobby Bowden era began. So I think this is just one of the worst things the Seminoles could have done in this situation.
All right, we've got 2 minutes left. What do you got?
Well, I have some picks for tomorrow or for Saturday's games.
Yeah, we need to do that, don't we?
All right, so we just want to...
We got started late. We can go a couple minutes late.
Fair enough. Game number 1, number 12 Stanford versus number 10 USC. This is the only Power 5 conference championship game that will have no implications on the college football playoff. USC already beat Stanford earlier this year, 42-24, and dominated on the ground. but the Cardinals have flown high the second half of the season, especially QB J.K. Costello, who did not play in the first matchup. However, USC has a better quarterback in Sam Darnold and a better defense. I'm picking the Trojans to be the Pac-12 champions in 2017.
Yeah, I have not been real high on USC when they've come up in our picks this year. I think I did pick them the last time that you brought them up. And I will say this. Sam Darnold has played better from about week 5 or 6 moving forward than he did when he struggled in the early part of the season. I think Southern Cal's too talented. I'll take Southern Cal.
Yeah, I've been extremely impressed with how David Shaw has kind of brought this team back from essentially nothing from the beginning of the year. So for them to even be in this game is a testament to what David Shaw can do as a head coach. But I think the Trojans will win. Game number 2, number 20 Memphis versus number 14 UCF. New Year's Six Bowl appearance will be on the line Saturday in Orlando, but UCF has more to play for it, an undefeated season. This will be a battle of the top 2 scoring offenses in the country. The Knights throttled the Tigers earlier in the year, 40-13, and the same thing will happen again Saturday in Orlando. I have the Knights beating the Tigers, and both these head coaches will probably not be there by the end of I guess by the start of 2018 because they're both real coveted.
Maybe by even the team's bowl game.
Sure, yeah, fair enough. You've seen that plenty of times happen. So
I don't think it'll be as large a blowout as the last time, but I still think it'll be a pretty significant win for UCF, and they'll finish undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, congrats to the Knights on the really big turnaround in that program from such a short time ago. Game number 3 and the biggest one of the day, or at least from our picks today, not on Saturday. Number 11, TCU versus number 3, Oklahoma. A win for the Sooners will give them a berth in the college football playoff. A loss will cause chaos for the football committee. And the Sooners have already beaten the Horned Frogs this year, 38-20. A game that wasn't even really that close. But this time around, TCU will contain Baker Mayfield because Matt Boson, a defensive end who missed that first game, he's got 5.5 sacks on the year for the Horned Frogs. Will play this matchup. And also look for TCU to have more success on offense than they did in the first game against that really questionable Oklahoma defense. And I'm picking the Horned Frogs to upset Oklahoma here in this Big 12 game and throw a wrench in the party for the college football playoff Final Four matchup.
Yeah, I'd like nothing more than to see that.
Yeah,
I really would. Because Baker Mayfield has had he's had a great year on the field. He's had a difficult year. I say off the field, but on the field, on the sidelines,
multiple
with some of the things that he's done with his actions. This is the kind of game in the past that Mayfield would have his worst game. This you go back and look at 2 losses to Clemson, one in a bowl game and one in a championship game, or in a playoff game, and they really throttled him in those games. He's a veteran quarterback now. He's a better player. So I don't think he'll have that meltdown in this game. I think it'll come in the next round.
Oh, so you're picking.
So I'm going to take Oklahoma to win this one, and then I'm going to take him to fall apart somewhere in the playoff.
Whether that be the Sugar Bowl, or the Rose Bowl this year.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting matchups on Saturday. We got.
So did you intentionally stay away from the ACC championship?
We'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to get because there's 7 games on Saturday. And so I'm leaving one out, and I'm picking the conference games that aren't as big implications on Saturday today, and then we're going to pick the big ones tomorrow.
Okay.
So
all right.
Kind
we don't have to leave one out. There's nothing says we can't do 7 games instead of 6.
That's fair enough.
So we'll do 4 tomorrow.
Let's do it.
Okay. Sounds good. Trivia answer.
The question, the topic is Furman football, playoff edition.
Yep.
So the question is, which Powder running back has rushed for the most yards in a single game and against who and what year?
All right, and the answer is?
Lewis Ivory, 172 against Hofstra in 2000. And Sukon John got Lewis Ivy right in the year and the team, but not the yards.
Not the yardage.
So 172, but well done, SoCon John, as you always do.
All right. Having said all that, that's going to put a wrap on things for us. Friday edition tomorrow, we hope to talk with Mark Hauser from the Wofford radio booth and see what he has to say about this matchup as we continue to preview and cover Furman and Wofford and get set for that broadcast coming up on Saturday, which kicks off at 2 p.m. We'll have the other picks, and I think Scott Keeler is going to come in and talk about state championship games. We have 3 upper state teams that will be involved in high school state championship football games, so we'll talk to him tomorrow as well. Until then, you folks have a great day. We will see you come 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. For Forrest, I'm Dan. God bless you. So long, everybody.